Hello again, my DIY loving friends. I'm Sarah and this is Medicated Housewife DIY, where crafting and mental health come together. In this video, I've got some amazing Dollar Tree DIYs that you're absolutely going to fall in love with. We're talking about transforming Dollar Tree Jenga blocks into stunning high-end decor pieces that will add a touch of magic to your home. So what are we waiting for? Let's go DIY together. For this DIY, I'm starting with 32 tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree, and I've placed them into groups of 2. I'm using this super glue wood glue, also from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be attaching all 32 of my blocks into groups of 2, glued from end to end, as you can see me doing right here, until I'm left with 16 of these groups of 2. Once those have dried, I'm taking 4 of these sets of 2 and I'm going to attach them together in the shape of a rectangle, as you see me doing right here. And you can pause or replay the video if you need to see the configuration. I make 1 rectangle and then I'm going to be making 3 more the exact same way for a total of 4 rectangles, each of them made of 8 tumbling tower blocks. So our grand total of blocks used is 32. I also cut a piece of wood craft stick into 8 small squares, and we will be attaching 2 of each of those craft stick pieces inside of each of our 4 rectangles. I place a dab of wood glue onto one side of the craft stick piece and apply it to the inner seam between the 2 blocks, going the tall way or the portrait direction of our rectangle. Then I attach another craft stick piece directly opposite that one on the inner seam between the 2 blocks across from it. Hopefully that makes sense to you. I repeat that for all 4 of my rectangles using 8 of the craft stick pieces. I have 4 of these wood rings that are about 3 inches wide on the outside. I got them on Amazon and I'll link them for you below, although you can find wood rings at Dollar Tree as well. I'm going to paint them with this mixture of water and folk art antique wax, which I will also link for you below. I paint all 4 rings the exact same way, and I'm using a dry paper towel to rub off the excess wax. Using that same water and wax mixture, I then paint the 4 wood block rectangles we made. I paint them on all sides, and the inside and the outside, total coverage, also using a dry paper towel to wipe away any excess liquid. I paint all 4 rectangles the same way, and then I'm going to put them aside to fully dry. I've got this 8-inch wood round I had in my stash, and I'll link it for you below. I'm using a chip brush to paint that with the same antique wax and water mixture, painting both sides as well as the edges, and then I'm going to set it aside to dry. I place a dab of glue on top of the craft stick pieces inside of my rectangle, and with some loose craft sticks that I placed under it as spacers, I place my wood ring into the middle of the rectangle attached on the sides to those craft stick pieces. I'm going to repeat that with all 4 rectangles and all 4 wood rings, and then I allow those to fully dry. I attach 1 rectangle to the other the tall way, as you can see me doing right here, and then I do the same with the other 2 rectangles, and I'm attaching those to each other as well. And then I'm going to give them all a little bit of time to dry a bit. Then I attach my 2 sets of 2 rectangles together to make this cube shape, doing my best to line them up straight because, after all, these are Dollar Tree blocks, and we all know they are far from perfectly and evenly sized, but I do my best. I turned the wood round over and placed 8 Jenga blocks down on the 4 sides as spacers. I apply some wood glue in a square shape using my spacers as guides, and then place my cube down onto the glue, centering it in the wood circle as evenly as I possibly can. And this is my tumbling tower block and wood ring riser or plant stand, and I really like the variation in square and round shapes on this riser or plant stand. It gives it lots of visual interest, and I think it adds a real upscale quality to the overall look. A sophisticated but easy wood decor DIY. For this DIY, I have this 10-inch mirror in my stash, and I'll link one for you below, or you can find some similarly sized ones at Dollar Tree. I also conveniently had this cardboard circle in my hoarder's basement that was the same size as my mirror, but you can easily cut a scrap piece of cardboard to fit your mirror. I'm using some E6000 glue, which is great for heavy items, to attach my mirror to the cardboard as a base. Next, I have a total of 54 tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree, and using this folk art white chalk paint, which I will link for you below, I use a chip brush to lightly distress paint all 54 of my blocks on all sides, just roughly applying the paint so that plenty of that natural wood is still showing through. I paint all the sides of each of the 54 blocks and then put them aside to dry. For this part, I am using some Beacon 3-in-1 craft glue, which I will link for you below, but the Dollar Tree super glue will work for this too. I place a couple of craft sticks around the edge of my mirror as support for my Jenga blocks, and I begin by gluing the first block about 1/3 of the way, overlapping the block and onto the mirror, as you see me doing. The craft sticks are there to keep the block straight and level as it dries. I place another block next to that one on its side and all the way onto the mirror, lining up the edge of the block with the edge of the mirror. And I'm going to repeat that exact same pattern over and over until I've gone around this entire mirror with that same pattern. Lastly, I did have to cut the last flat block in half lengthwise so that it would fit in the space that was left there at the end. And this is my Jenga block mirror, and honestly, even though it has a beach look with the rough whitewash, I still love this for a fresh, clean fall look as well. It's got a little farmhouse or even boho vibe in my opinion, and I think the high-end wood decor look makes it a win for all seasons. Super easy to do as well. For this DIY, I am using those dreaded brown tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree. Yes, I told you I would do something with them, and I am. I am also using 4 of these wood cubes from Dollar Tree, and I am painting the 4 cubes using this apple barrel paint in the color Melted Chocolate, which I will link for you below. I am doing 2 full coats of paint on all sides of the 4 cubes for total coverage. While the wood cubes are drying, I take 16 of the brown tumbling tower blocks and I'm going to glue them together into 8 groups of 2 blocks glued end to end. I'm using some super glue wood glue, also from Dollar Tree. Then I take my 8 groups of 2 blocks and I'm going to turn them into 4 groups of 4 blocks, gluing 1 2-block set on top of another sandwich style, like you see me doing right here. I have this 5x7 piece of plexiglass that I will link for you below, but you can use the glass from a Dollar Tree frame to do this too. First, I'm removing one side of the protective film from the plexiglass. Using 2 tumbling tower blocks as spacers on the 4 corners of my plexiglass sheet, I determine where to place each of my 4 tumbling tower block legs. And I am using some Surebonder super glue gel, which I'll link for you below, but Dollar Tree super glue will work for this too. I place one of my 4 block sets on each of the 4 corners as feet for the plexiglass sheet. Then I flip the plexiglass over onto the feet. I remove the other protective film from the top, and using the same Surebonder super glue gel, I glue each one of my brown wood cubes onto the plexiglass directly over the area where the tumbling tower block feet were attached, so that it almost looks like the block legs go through the plexi like they're one solid piece. And I do that for all 4 blocks on all 4 corners. I grabbed some wood coffee stirrers from my stash. You could also use the wood craft sticks from Dollar Tree and cut them down to a thinner size. I painted them with that same chocolate brown color on all sides and then I let them dry. I took the dry coffee stirrers and used a 5x7 template to create a frame for the edges of the plexiglass. Then I used some super glue to attach the coffee stirrer frame to the top edge of the plexiglass on all sides to give it more of a finished look. I had this 5x7 panel from Dollar Tree that I had already removed the words that were on it, and I had painted it white for a previous project. I paint over the white with the same chocolate brown colored paint I used on all the other parts of this project. I painted the entire front and sides, and I left the back unpainted since it would be unseen. And once it was dry, I used some hot glue on the bottom of my tower block legs and attached them to the bottom of the painted panel, making the whole project much stronger and less flimsy. And this is my Jenga block and plexiglass tier tray. I think this is so cool looking because it really does look like the plexi is kind of floating in the middle of the wood block legs. I like the detail of the wood edge around the plexi edge, and I just really like how the whole thing came together. Totally unique and really sophisticated to look at. So many things you can do with this DIY. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed these Dollar Tree DIYs as much as I did. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to Medicated Housewife DIYs for more creative and budget-friendly projects. Let me know in the comments which DIY was your favorite and why. You know I love hearing from all of you. Until next time, remember that together we're making the world a more beautiful place, one DIY at a time.